Some people are so agitated, the monkey mind. For people that have that issue, I think learning how to calm the nervous system is very powerful.
Andrew Huberman has a really interesting strategy for improving focus and productivity. He talks about how we can change our environment, what we eat, how we behave to help us concentrate better. He explains that different types of lighting can actually affect our ability to focus, which isn't something that I, at least, typically think about. Huberman talks about the biological reasons behind this and how different types of light can affect our brain. He suggests using different phases of light, like phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, to match our work patterns to help us think better. This shows how Huberman has a careful and thoughtful approach to making people more productive.
I think we're dealing with two general categories of people who have problems with motivation and focus. I think we failed to describe the fact that there are two groups and not one. We think, well, I need to calm myself enough to move forward. And then other people say, well, no, you need to kind of ramp yourself up to move forward. Here's the way I conceptualize it based on the data that I'm aware of. Some people are just hypo-aroused. They're just not motivated enough. And those people would benefit greatly from cultivating practices like superoxygenated breathing, 25 or 30 deep breaths through the nose and out through the mouth, then exhaling the breath and holding, learning how to self-generate adrenaline. An ice bath is doing the exact same thing, stimulating adrenaline response. It actually improves the immune system. There's a published paper on this, releases adrenaline, which buffers the immune system against infection. But getting good at taking yourself from low energy to higher energy, and then learning how to compress your focus. And I'll talk about the focus thing in a minute.
Huberman's groundbreaking insights into the correlation between physicality and cognitive function have revitalized the age-old concept that our bodily posture significantly influences our mental state. His research goes beyond the traditional understanding of simply maintaining the good posture and delves into how we engage with our workspaces, revealing profound cognitive implications. One area that Huberman explores is the importance of setting the ideal visual window size. He suggests that the size and placement of our visual field can significantly impact our mental clarity and our focus. However, perhaps one of the most radical suggestions put forth by Huberman is the incorporation of movement within our work environments. He argues that a dynamic workspace where individuals have the freedom to move and change positions can foster increased productivity and creativity.
Some people are so agitated, the monkey mind, they got too many things going on and they're thinking, okay, they're trying to sit down and write. I suffer from this and I'm feeling like, wait, I've also got this person I need to connect with, and I'm kind of being drawn off course by not being able to put the blinders on. For people that have that issue, I think learning how to calm the nervous system is very powerful. And the best way that I know how to do that is based on two studies, one published in Nature, one published in Cell Reports recently, showing that physiological sighs are one of the fastest ways to bring our overall levels of autonomic arousal down. And a physiological sigh is 2 inhales followed by an extended exhale. So it's like, it's not just a deep breath, it's 2 inhales followed by an exhale, okay? And what that does, dilates the little sacs of the lungs, and that second inhale dilates them a little bit more, and it pulls a little bit of carbon dioxide out of the bloodstream so that when we exhale, we offload the maximum amount of carbon dioxide, and it perfectly adjusts the ratio of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the bloodstream and lungs. And sometimes it only takes one of these double inhale exhales. Sometimes somebody needs to do 2 or 3. But that's the fastest way to bring the autonomic nervous system down.
Andrew Huberman's elucidation of the concept of deep work and its optimal duration is insightful. It's highly practical. In his enlightening video, he introduces the 45-minute/5-minute rule, which proposes a balance between engaging in high-intensity work and taking regular rest periods. This innovative approach acknowledges that our brains require periodic respites to rejuvenate and function at their peak capacity. By adhering to the 45-minute/5-minute rule, individuals can enhance their productivity and maintain a sustainable work pace. Rather than promoting a culture of exhausting overwork, this technique promotes a healthier and more efficient work routine. It recognizes the importance of striking a balance between intense concentration and brief intervals of relaxation. Furthermore, Huberman introduces the concept of the cathedral effect, which involves switching between analytic and creative work.
Just say one other thing about focus. So when we're in a high alert state, something very powerful happens. When there's a certain amount of adrenaline in our system, our pupils dilate. Remember, the eyes are not connected to the brain. Our eyes are actually two pieces of central nervous system. They are two pieces of brain outside the skull that were designed to control our overall arousal state. When I bring up the level of adrenaline in my body through breathing, or let's say I see a troubling text, the pupils dilate. And when that happens, our visual system actually enters something that's a little bit more like portrait mode on our phone. There's a process called accommodation, and your ability to focus on one thing visually actually becomes better, and your ability to see everything else blurs away. And that's the ability to just see that screen of text, or that if you work on pad and paper, to just see that pad and paper. And then as you start writing, what people don't realize is that mental focus follows visual focus. Most people, your visual focus, as you bring that into really sharp relief, that image of your book, and you stare at it, you're gonna feel some agitation and your mind's gonna be jumping all over the place. But if you wait just a couple minutes, the rest of the world will disappear. I think this is sort of like the flow state people are looking for. But the visual focus is what brings the rest of the brain into cognitive focus. And people in the martial arts understand this. You've probably experienced this running when you're feeling exhausted and you can just concentrate on one milestone and get there. You can almost bring that into what you're doing is you're linking that to the dopamine circuitry. You're saying that thing is the milestone, not winning the race, not some other thing outside this immediate environment, that thing. And when you're able to start capturing these peripheral circuits, meaning the body, the diaphragm, the visual system, then you start getting past this whole idea of mindsets, and it really becomes about the body setting the mind. And this is where I think when you say action leads the rest, right? What you're saying is grounded in real neurobiological data. When our focus is very narrow, time starts to feel thin sliced. You're perceiving more events per unit time. So it's like a metronome that's going faster. When our gaze is dilated, so when we're relaxed, there's actually what happens is the pupil kind of relaxes a bit. It doesn't always get bigger or smaller, but what happens is when we're relaxed, so if you view a horizon, for instance, or you go into what's called panoramic vision, so even though I'm looking at you right now, I can dilate my gaze without moving my head or eyes, so I can see the corners of the room and the ceiling. I can see myself in the environment. When we do that, our perception of time broadens and we feel like we have more time. And what we're doing when we do that focus versus defocus, as I call it, or focal vision versus panoramic vision, is you're toggling on and off the autonomic nervous system for alertness. You're turning on and off that norepinephrine circuit. And so it's conscious control over a brainstem circuit. And this is why I don't like the phrase autonomic, because that means automatic. It's a misnomer. And if you really look at the realm of high performance, what you start to realize is people who are very good at their respective sport or career, or in the special operations community, what they do, are exceptionally good at turning on and off these systems. So they're highly functional at achieving their milestones, but they're not spending out extra energy. Because when you go into panoramic vision, you start to uncouple this space-time thing and you get some rest and relaxation. The way to get better at duration, path, and outcome is to engage in activities that are low duration, path, and outcome, where your brain is not in modes of analyzing duration, path, and outcome. What's the one phase of our life when we're not thinking about duration, path, and outcome at all? Sleep. And so the reason why you can pull somebody's mind apart, their ability to think rationally and analyze duration, path, and outcome by sleep depriving them, is because sleep, despite all its neurochemical complexity, is really when we restore our ability to analyze duration, path, and outcome. Now you think about buds and you go, no wonder they sleep deprive them. They're trying to figure out who has the ability to control these mechanisms and who doesn't. Most people fail.
Huberman's exploitation of the role played by ambient sound and binaural beats in enhancing focus introduces fascinating dimensions to the conversation on productivity. His discussion regarding the productive impact of certain background noises is truly unique, and it presents a refreshing perspective on productivity enhancers. Huberman's deep dive into the subject of binaural beats, their potential work frequencies, and their potential for enhancing focus positions sound as a powerful tool that can be harnessed for cognitive improvement.
So when I think about how to recover, I actually don't think about recovery as its own thing. I think about recovery as giving buoyancy or improving my ability to focus. So sleep is a turning off of these brain circuits that are thinking about what's happening next. So the other thing is that just merely going into panoramic vision, say between a meeting, instead of looking at your phone, more focal vision. You're working hard on your book. Maybe you walk to the kitchen, just 2 seconds of what I call deliberate decompression, where you just kind of let your mind go broader, will allow you to reset your focus much more intensely when you return to that book, as opposed to if you had looked at your phone or engaged even in some other kind of deep duration path outcome type function of the brain. So when you start thinking about meditation, it's also valuable because a lot of meditation involves focusing on your breath. I actually think a lot of people are spending out this ability. They're working too hard in the activities that are designed to reset them. I think that we can all do ourselves a great service and perform much better in what we're doing by taking little micro recoveries in the form of dilating our gaze in between meetings, just for a second. Viewing a horizon is the best way to do it, because it naturally brings the eyes into defocus. We're doing this in VR because we can control the visual environment completely. When you go into this defocus mode, you turn off that brainstem circuit, you're conserving norepinephrine for your next bout of focus and activity. Otherwise, you're spending it. And the brain doesn't care how you spend it. Doesn't care if it's on Instagram, doesn't care if it's watching the news. But learning how to defocus and then refocus very quickly can get you through a race that you wouldn't otherwise have been able to get through. It saves you energy and it builds energy.